Romantica Eru suddenly realized just how dangerous Daisir Herman really was. Azest King's Crown was utterly confused. She surpassed Daisir in every measurable aspect. Mana, magic, speed, hand-to-hand combat. She was better than him at all of it. Yet, somehow, she was struggling. Daisir gave his signature smile and simply said, "You need to have a little more fun." Azest, as serious as a steel trap, frowned. She determined she wasn't lacking in skill, only experience. She attacked, but Daisir had seen it coming a mile away and countered effortlessly. She wasn't exactly helpless, though. Dodging all his fireballs, she closed in for a sword strike. Daisir boosted his strength with a spell and blocked her attack. She pushed him back just enough to impress him, showing off her raw power. She continued her relentless assault, putting Daisir on the defensive, yet she couldn't understand why she couldn't beat him. He, on the other hand, wondered if she was even enjoying herself. "Have you ever faced a worthy opponent before?" he asked, recalling how she always looked bored in previous battles. Azest had no clue what he meant by fun, and just insisted she would win. Desire encouraged her to give it everything she had, but she was already steps ahead of him. Things escalated rapidly. Azest prepared her trump card, the Frozen Throne. The room was instantly covered in ice. Daisir recognized it as vision magic, a type he could not normally inverse. Azest sat upon her icy throne, commanding Daisir to prepare. Almost immediately, shards of ice rained down, and Daisir was stunned by the sheer number of magic circles Azest had created. She used them to attack, but he wasn't afraid. "Inside the frozen palace of vision magic, you can wield magic without limit," he mused. "It's the advanced ability you used before I went back in time." Unfazed, Daisir inversed every attack without hesitation. Azest created more circles, only for him to destroy them instantly. He grinned. "No matter how many you make, your magic will never touch me." Azest realized her sword alone, or her magic alone, wouldn't be enough. Ingeniously, she decided to remove her vision magic entirely. Daisir was shocked and amazed when he understood why she had done it. Meanwhile, below, Pram Schneider defended himself against Dante, sending him flying. Romantica realized they needed to take down Dante before the spiky-haired redhead rejoined the fray, but it was too late. Dante ordered Percival Aescunitz to lend a hand, and Percival mocked him, clearly enjoying the chaos. Since Dante claimed he would handle Romantica Eru and Pram Schneider on his own, he explained it wasn't about proving his strength. It was just that he didn't want to waste any more of his precious life fighting disgusting commoners. The two villains launched a coordinated assault, putting our heroes in a very tight spot. Pram managed to fend off Percival Aescunitz's first attack, but Dante was rapidly closing in, and Percival had already recovered his sword. Things were looking grim until Romantica thought of Daisir Herman. Bolstered by confidence, she shouted at Pram to get down and unleashed an insanely powerful attack. Meanwhile, upstairs, Azest King's Crown transformed her weapon into a magic sword, an ultimate attack method normally mastered only by magic knights over a decade. Yet she had somehow achieved it almost instantly. She launched her strike with precision, confident it was a move Daisir could not inverse. Daisir tried to counter with his spell, but Azest remained undeterred. She celebrated prematurely when her final blow seemed successful, destroying Daisir's dagger. But then she realized he was using his inversing spell. Her eyes widened in shock as she saw his magic cast across the entire clock tower. The impossible was happening. Suddenly, the announcement rang out. The quest had been cleared. The magical power of the previous clock tower was severed, its mechanisms shut down. This marked the end of the ranking tournament's final round. The clock tower would never again summon demons. Daisir Herman was declared the person who cleared the quest. The crowd erupted in cheers, while instructors had mixed feelings. Bridget was thrilled, of course, but the big boss of the Blue Moon Group refused to acknowledge that commoners had won. He even accused Bridget of cheating, insisting it was impossible for a commoner to outdo a magic knight and clear the shadow world. A few other classist bigots joined in, pointing fingers at Daisir's team. Fortunately, some sensible teachers spoke up, noting there was no evidence against them. They had all witnessed the fight and knew the victory was earned fair and square. The stern, ponytailed elder, looking like he might play hacky sack in his free time, remained calm. He had his assistant read the names of the 9 single rankers, though the names weren't revealed to us. Later, Daisir explained that his original plan had been simple: last long enough for the other contestants to eliminate each other. Finishing in the top 9 would have been sufficient to secure single ranker status. However, Azest had figured out his strategy and froze everyone, completely upending his plan. Instead of eliminating them, unfortunately for Azest King's Crown, her team was so focused on fighting everyone else that they completely missed what the real plan was. Daisir Herman's team had arrived at the clock tower slightly ahead of everyone else, and he began analyzing the ancient structure. It was a tough task, and he almost ran out of time, but he just barely managed to finish during his one-on-one against Azest. Had all the Alpha students swarmed him, he wouldn't have had a chance. Azest realized just how brilliant Daisir truly is. He wasn't even entirely focused on their one-on-one battle. He was always looking at the bigger picture, just like during the entrance exam. She had been playing right into his hands all along, and had to admit he had defeated her in every conceivable way. Daisir, of course, remained humble, noting that if her sword had been just a fraction of a second faster, she might have won. Pram Schneider interjected, pointing out that if Azest had done that, they would have had to fight her in Daisir's place. But by then, her team had already been taken down. Daisir praised his team for a job well done, while Romantica Iro tried, unsuccessfully, to pretend she didn't enjoy having her head petted. Their bond was clearly very strong. Depressingly for her, Azest had to leave to see Professor Fairman, the instructor in charge of the Blue Moon group. Before she left, she swallowed her pride and asked Daisir if she could join his training group. Romantica yelled at him not to let her, but Daisir casually told Azest to meet them at the training area in the mornings and after school. Romantica was furious, of course, but Azest grumbled and left. Next, Daisir's team went to see Bridget, eagerly awaiting confirmation of their single ranker status. To their surprise, she brought out a massive cake from a bakery so popular that people line up half a day just to nibble crumbs from the floor. The cakes are so coveted that reservations are booked 3 years in advance. Romantica assumed this was a sign of bad news, but Bridget revealed it was just a joke. She congratulated the three of them on officially becoming single rankers, making them the first commoners ever promoted to the Alpha class. They celebrated by shoving enormous amounts of cake into their mouths. Daisir thanked Bridget for her help, but she reminded him that they had done all the hard work themselves. As they indulged, Bridget recalled a memory from long ago. A little week-old Daisir Herman had asked her to teach him magic. She nurtured him over several years, and he grew into the masterful mage he was today. Some time later, Daisir's friends were ready to enjoy some well-earned fun, taking a break from the stresses of school life. As they prepare to enter the Alpha class, this is their last chance to enjoy some free time before getting swamped with responsibilities. Dyer is the most responsible one in the group, so he hesitates, but his friends eventually convince him to hang out at the mall. The so-called fun starts with Dyer wandering aimlessly, while Romantica tries on different outfits. Tesser thinks she looks okay, which is about as exciting as a wet sock. Romantica is disappointed and decides to give him another shout before moving on to try something else. Dor starts complimenting, "You look amazing. That really suits you." Exactly the kind of praise Romantica wanted, until she realizes he's actually talking about Pram, the little brat who stole the show. Now it's Dor's turn to pick something, but Pram insists on full focus and begins helping him choose a tie. Pram can't decide, so Dor signals to Romantica for backup, but she only shrugs. Apparently, nothing can stop Pram once he's in this mode. After what feels like an eternity of bending over and indecision, the ordeal ends. Romantica can't believe Pram spent more time shopping than she did, but seeing how happy he is, she shrugs and they move on to the next area. Suddenly, Ys appears, announcing she likes a change of pace now and then. Things get awkward, so Dora invites her to tag along. S misinterprets the invitation as a rematch for the ranking tournament. Dora protests, but she laughs, revealing it was just a joke, though judging by her deadpan face, it's impossible to tell. The group joins the others at an arcade. Pram focuses intensely on a claw machine and actually wins a prize. Romantica celebrates, but their joy is short-lived when Dur brings Ys along. Strangely, Ys swaps places with Pram, letting him sit next to his favorite person, Dur, which solves most problems, except Romantica can't believe she was betrayed. Dur suggests playing air hockey, but Pram gets upset when he ends up on the opposite team. Romantica, already angry, shoots a dirty look at Ys. The game begins and things get intense. Dur reminds Romantica that they're facing the Academy's top swordsman and magic knight, warning her not to underestimate the opponent. Romantica, ever defiant, insists she's ready, though she clearly has no idea just how serious this is. Meanwhile, Pram declares he's going to finish the game in a flash. Pram can't stand being on the opposite team and insists on pairing up with Dur for the next match. The game begins and Pram starts things off. Dur must rely on his lightning-fast reaction time to return the puck, while Ys refuses to let anything slip past her. Then it's Romantica's turn. She smashes the puck past both defenders, who can hardly believe their eyes. She reveals that challenging her at air hockey was a huge mistake. She specializes in wind magic, and she's ready to school them. Dur protests, calling it unfair, but Ass doesn't care. Panic sets in as Ass uses her ice magic to redirect the puck, scoring a point. Romantica, fueled by frustration and determination, powers up even further, and the intense match continues. Dur gets momentarily distracted thinking about the future, but Romantica snaps him back to reality as the puck comes flying at him. He instantly inverses Ys's ice magic and launches the puck back, scoring impressively. S, satisfied to finally see him take the game seriously, declares the real fun has begun. Afterwards, she thanks the group for a refreshing change of pace and leaves. Romantica hopes she never has to see S again, but the guys drop the bad news. Ass will be training with them, and they'll all be in the Alpha class after the school break. At their first glimpse of the Alpha class classroom, Pram shows off his new tablet with Dur as the wallpaper, making things awkward as usual. Romantica is excited for the new school year, and Dur takes them to morning practice. They start with stretching, move on to sword fighting, and Romantica is a bit miffed when Ys keeps up with Pram. During ball target practice, Ys fails to land one, so Romantica steps up, impressively completing all the targets. Dur brings out more balls, but she handles them effortlessly. Eventually, practice ends, and Ys compliments Dur on his training style, noting how he adapts to each student's strengths. Romantica, exhausted from playing with Dezir's balls, begs him to go easier during morning practices. Unfortunately, Dur reminds them there's no time to slack. The next battle will be real, and mistakes could be deadly. The team trusts Dur to get them ready, and they're all excited for the challenges ahead. In Class A, the teacher explains that the battle between humanity and the shadow world is far from over. The recurring disaster continues to ravage their world. In fact, their continent is now only half its original size. On the bright side, the success rate for clearing shadow worlds is a staggering 99.9%, thanks to the power of magic gems. These gems appear whenever a shadow world is cleared and contain massive amounts of mana. They can't be used as is, but a process invented years ago allows their power to be harnessed, which in turn fueled incredible technological advancements. The instructor quizzes the students on who invented this process, calling on Romantica, who is dozing off. Luckily, Dur whispers the answer just in time, saving her from embarrassment. Class ends and Dur heads to introduce his team to Professor Prelude, who is amazed at the sight of the single rankers. Even sleepyhead Romantica impresses her. Prelude is surprised when Dur asks for a favor. She assumes it's party support, the kind the Academy and Magical Tower provide, but the deadline has passed. Instead, Dur hands her a request form. He wants his team assigned to guard a branch of the Magical Tower. Prelude is skeptical and initially declines, curious why they would want such an assignment. Dur reveals that a magical stone called the Tear of a Journal is stored at the Heli branch. He also warns her that in 10 hours, a group called the Outers will attempt to steal it. Prelude nearly has a heart attack. This is top secret information, and Dur was just in the beta class days ago. She can't fathom how he knows so much, but he insists there's no time to explain and that they must act immediately. 10 hours later, at the Magical Tower headquarters, an old face from the future appears, the know-it-all Mage Master Zod. He is informed by a panicked subordinate that the Heli branch is under attack. Curious, Master Zod goes to see who is guarding it, only to find a student he's never met before. Somewhere outside the Tower of Magic, a kid is running with a pile of bread in his hands. He accidentally bumps into a huge, one-eyed guy and falls, but the stranger levitates the bread back into place. The kid apologizes nervously, and the massive, serious-looking man asks if he's hurt. The kid assures him he's fine, and the stranger helps him up, curious why he's in such a rush. The kid explains he has a little brother at home who's starving. The big guy advises him to hurry but warns him to be careful, as nights can get dangerous. Then, unexpectedly, he drops the bread and crushes it underfoot, the exact type of trouble he was talking about. He tells the kid to be more careful next time and walks away. Just as the kid breathes a sigh of relief, someone appears beside him, contemplating ending the kid's life. The big guy decides to let him live, and we see the weak little kid is actually Daisir Herman. Meanwhile, the big guy arrives at the Tower of Magic, slipping on a mask. He rallies his goons, a massive army of soldiers, and orders them to prepare spells. Fire and ice rain down on the tower, but its powerful shield holds strong. Not one to be easily impressed, the big guy expected nothing less. He unleashes a second wave, this time using physical attacks. The tower's defense can't block two types of attacks at once, he declares. The barge puts immense pressure on the barrier, which eventually shatters. The goons storm in, clashing with guards inside. Sword fights erupt everywhere, but the big boss, Kraken, notices something odd about the guards. Moving through the chaos, Kraken goes invisible, calling the guards fools for leaving their posts. He arrives at his target, the tier of a journal. Surrounding the magical gem with his men, he unleashes every spell in their arsenal, but the barrier holds. Annoyed, Kraken orders everyone aside and casts Earth Rage, obliterating the barrier and the protective box. He stares in awe at the brilliant, high-tier gem before him. Just then, everyone freezes as a surprisingly girly voice calls them out. "You, the Outers, stop what you're doing." Shocked, they see it's not a random girl, but Pram Schneider, calmly telling them to surrender. Confused, the invaders wonder what a kid is even doing here. Kraken, trying to hide his gem, wonders how this little guy knew they were Outers, while Pram silently sizes up the masked big guy, Kraken, and instantly recognizes his strength. Not getting an answer, Kraken orders his men to take out the kid. They unleash a flurry of magic, but Pram effortlessly evades every spell. He quickly assesses the enemies, 2 swordsmen and 4 mages, all roughly as strong as Romantica, and proceeds to neutralize their magic. The goons hesitate, assuming he's only a magic counter, unaware that Pram is also a deadly close-range fighter. Frustrated, Kraken casts an entangle spell, freezing Pram. He follows up with a massive earth fist straight to Pram's gut. Impressive skill, Kraken admits, but you lack experience. He then tries a chain spell to capture him, but Pram dodges easily, though it was just a feint. Captured in another trap, Kraken notes, this kid is a Heaven student, clearly talented, but he has to survive what comes next. Things look grim as Kraken's men launch an all-out attack. Just in time, Romantica arrow swoops in, hidden, wreaking havoc on the attackers. One goon even sacrifices himself to save Kraken, adding to the chaos. Despite the armor blocking some attacks, Romantica's strikes still deal serious damage. Kraken studies her movements. Speed, accuracy, and the sheer number of spells make him suspect there might be more than one attacker. Combined with the odd guard behavior, it makes him wonder if they somehow anticipated the assault. Focus, Kraken mutters, telling his goons to cover him. As the walls around Pram crumble, he prepares to strike. Pram fights through multiple goons on his way to Kraken, nearly overpowering each one. Though temporarily pushed back by a clever spell, Pram immediately recovers and charges forward again. However, Kraken's seemingly endless magic continues to press him hard. Kraken, clearly a tyrant, launches his next attack, but misses Pram Schneider and instead sends one of his own goons crashing through the floor. Pram can't believe it. What kind of villain treats his own soldiers like that? Kraken just shrugs. Replacements are plentiful. Pram strikes back, but his attacks are useless against the tyrant. Kraken surrounds himself with a wall of rocks, and no matter how hard Pram tries, they keep coming. The villain scolds him, disappointed that the kid has so few tricks up his sleeve. Even worse, Kraken discovers the source of other attacks and forces Romantica Aru out of hiding. "Who's leading you kids?" he demands. No answer. "Then I'll make you feel something worse than death." Romantica isn't fazed. She launches precise wind magic attacks at Kraken, impressing him with her accuracy, but he taunts, "You lack power." She smacks him right in the face with a rock anyway, cheerfully thanking him for the lesson. The 2 trade blows, each canceling the other out. Pram tries to strike amid the chaos, but Kraken, another villainous goon, isn't messing around anymore. Romantica sees the danger and yells at Pram to get out of the way. Kraken amps up his earth rage, obliterating the entire room. The heroes barely survive, realizing just how insanely strong he is. Oddly, they aren't upset, they just think, Dor needs to train us more. It's clear their plan had succeeded, and they wonder if they completed their part well enough. Meanwhile, below the tower, Kraken celebrates his victory, praising Zodic Zarian for their preparedness. But he's shocked when Daisir Herman suddenly appears. Dyer, ever the comedian, announces he's here to collect payment for the bread you crushed. Confused, Kraken demands answers. Dur calmly shows a glowing mark on his hand. I tagged you with my mana when we touched earlier, he explains. Suddenly, it all makes sense. Dyer was the reason everyone knew about Kraken's raid. Kraken chuckles at Daisir Herman's moves, impressed by the kid's skill despite his youth. But the tyrant quickly sobers up. You'll regret everything, he growls, preparing a massive attack called Doom Fist, which causes fists to erupt from every wall in the tunnel. Dur casually obliterates them all, proving his prowess. He calmly tells Kraken it's time to return what he stole. Kraken attacks repeatedly, but every spell fails. He wonders if Dur is somehow inversing his magic, but that seems impossible, so he doubles down with an even bigger attack, which Dur also handles effortlessly. Approaching Kraken, Dur remains unbothered as the villain threatens to destroy the gem if he comes closer. Go ahead, do whatever you want, Dur says coldly. Kraken is stunned but regains composure. He tries to counter, only to find himself trapped under Dezir's gravity control. Dur takes the gem back effortlessly and even draws mana from the unprocessed artifact. When Kraken protests, Dur shrugs. You don't need to know how I do it, then pushes him into the ground. But Kraken touches his mask, unleashing a surge of power that transforms him into a terrifying magical beast. He punches Dur hard, sending him flying. Dur defends himself just in time, but Kraken follows up with increasingly ferocious attacks. Dur dodges, counters with fire magic, and holds his ground. Kraken explains that at Dezir's current level, ordinary spells won't harm him, and ominously offers only two options: die by magic or by fist. Kraken charges, relentless and refusing to give Dur time to inverse anything. Dur barely evades each strike, earning a begrudging compliment from Kraken for his persistence. Finally, the villain summons a massive weapon and declares that Dezir's fate is sealed. Kraken unleashes his full power, and Daisir Herman casts several defensive spells to keep him in check. But Kraken refuses to be held back, smashing the area into rubble. He laughs triumphantly, claiming victory and taunting. You should have never challenged the Outers. Suddenly, Kraken's weapon crumbles to pieces. Dyer is surprisingly unscathed. Calmly, he explains that Kraken's spell was rare, which is why it took him longer than usual, but now he's learned to inverse it too. Shocked and powerless, Kraken watches as Dur begins dismantling him. Dur creates a massive fireball from a gem, obliterating Kraken entirely. Victorious, Dur ponders the identity of his opponent and glimpses his own future, reflecting on the role he plays in this timeline. His friends arrive at the magical tower headquarters, and they celebrate their triumph. A curious lady asks if Dur is certain about his reward for protecting the tier of a journal. With a confident grin, Dur reveals his wish: to play chess against the master of the magical tower, Zod. The lady thinks it's an odd request, but admits the master himself is eccentric enough to accept. At his destination, Dur is greeted by Zod, his irreplaceable friend, and undeniably the strongest mage, now and in the future. Dur admits he's a bit nervous, and they sit down for a game. Zod laments he only has 27 minutes before a meeting, but Dyer surprises him by requesting a game using the herb method, a rare and complicated rule few know. Dur recalls that an old friend taught him this method, and the memory brings a smile. As they play, Zod realizes Dur is incredibly skilled, though Zod still takes the lead and reminds him there's much to learn. Dur proposes a wager. The loser must grant one wish to the winner. Skeptical, Zod points out that Dur is just a student, so what could he possibly wish for? Dur casually spots some unprocessed mana gems and requests one. He then extracts mana from it, using only his bare hand, leaving Zod utterly shocked. Zod is desperate to know how Daisir Herman managed such an incredible feat, but Dur mischievously replies that the answer will be the wish he grants Zod if Zod wins the wager. Zod agrees, but wonders what Dur himself would wish for if he wins. Dur simply smirks and says he'll find out once he does. Wager officially set. The two continue their chess match elsewhere, each plotting their strategy. Meanwhile, Aza's King's Crown sits outside a house while a party goes on inside. A Blue Moon instructor wonders why she isn't inside helping with the crowd and mentions some unpleasant rumors, all because she lost in the ranking tournament. He expects her to clear things up, but Azest shocks him, saying she doesn't care. They lost fair and square. No need to hide it or lie. Furious, the instructor reminds her that she's responsible for their defeat and declares that if she won't cover it up, she must quit the Blue Moon group. Azest thinks about all her new friends and decides that quitting might just be the perfect idea. Elsewhere, Dur compliments his friends for their efforts against Kraken and thanks them for helping recover the tear of a journal. Romantica Eru pretends to be pleased but quickly gets serious, pointing out that neither she nor Pram Schneider had a chance against Kraken. She emphasizes that they need to get stronger, a point Dur was clearly making all along. Curious, Pram finally asks why Dur trains them so rigorously. Dur surprises them with the answer. In just 12 days, a shadow world will appear, and they will be sent to conquer it. Unlike Academy simulations, failure could bring the world closer to doom, and they could all lose their lives. Dur refuses to let that happen. No one will die under his watch. Romantica realizes that everything Dur predicts usually comes true. Even as a low-level circle mage, he's incredibly strong and has already proven his foresight multiple times. She desperately wants to know his secret, but remembers her own words when she first joined the party. She vowed to uncover Dezer's secrets herself. Respecting that, she stops herself from asking, and Dur teases her a bit, confident she's dying to know. The moment ends with laughter all around. Dur gets serious again, reminding his friends and himself that they need to grow stronger. They all agree to stick by each other's side. What follows is a long montage. Dur continues training Romantica, Azest eventually joins him, and Pram trains with some mysterious seaweed-haired figure, possibly his long-lost father, who finally returned with the milk. Azest King's Crown seems to ignore her old Blue Moon group and instead trains alongside Daisir Herman. Meanwhile, Pram Schneider eventually surpasses his new trainer, while Dur helps unlock some hidden potential within Romantica Eru. Azest completes her training as well, leading to a hilariously awkward moment with Dur. Let's just say some magical sparks fly, literally and figuratively. Finally, the day Dur predicted arrives. Alarms blare, and an emergency announcement confirms that a shadow world has appeared. All students are ordered to report to the auditorium. Romantica, who really loves wearing the school's combat uniform, strikes a pose, and Dur compliments her and Pram, saying they both look great. They step through the teleportation gate, with Azest joining them. Romantica finally accepts Azest, realizing that they will need her help in the battles ahead. Dur is certain that this moment is exactly why he was sent back in time. Determined to change their fate, he ensures all his friends are ready for what's to come, proclaiming confidently, "We will save the world." Thanks for watching this full Season 1 recap.